Okay, so this was actually two separate tanks and I just combined them. They're basically like that was a 10 gallon and that was a 17 gallon and then this is a 29 gallon. So I figured the fish might like to have their setups. So I just basically put the two setups next to each other. Um, but this doesn't really match this. And I kind of like this more than I like this. So I went and found some rocks out in the forest that are very similar to this. And even though they don't match the river pebble, for some reason it still kind of works. Um, and I might get some smaller color like this that I could just sort of put, and I think that will help blend these rocks in together. Um, and you could probably find this in nature, but usually you find the same sort of genre of rocks, uh, color matching like in a river system. But I love these rocks so much, and these actually look really nice against the plants and the wood. So that's what I'm gonna try to do is so I'm gonna take this out. These were great for the most part, but the algae doesn't look very nice on them, so they've changed. They matched better when it was their own tank, and I've also struggled to keep the moss attached to the rock. I used string, and I actually just wrapped the moss. So anyway, this whole tank is going to be able to get a little bit of a redo. I've been waiting for this large fern to grow in the back. I was hoping it was an African sword, but I don't think it is anymore. And so I have a big empty spot over there, which is nice for the fish. So most of this aquarium is kind of set up as a habitat for the fish. And I wanted to make it look nice, of course, but I really wanted to give them as much interest as I can because I just wanted to make sure they have a really good quality of life. Uh, and they get to enjoy the aquarium, and it's not just the aesthetics for me. Now, I didn't plan on like tearing this whole thing up, mostly just rebuilding this, but like there's actually a bunch of things I'd want to do. I cut a sock because the sock was too big, so I cut it anyway. But it also makes a good, what you do is you just put it all the way up your arm, past where your arm goes in. And then when you have your hand in the tank, and for whatever reason, if you lift it up, you don't get the water running down to your armpit. I don't know if you've had that problem where for some reason, like next thing you know, the water's running down to your armpit. All right, so anyway, got a bunch of good shrimp, really nice colors. In this tank, I put shrimp that had really nice colors. Pretty much only, and they've stayed that way. They haven't really bleached out yet. So I have yellows and reds and some dark colors. But so anyway, when you this guy's cool. He's like a brown beige kind of thing going on. I don't know if you could see him. Is he in the camera? But yeah, so just be careful when you take stuff out. You're not dragging a whole bunch of shrimp. They tend to leave once they feel the water. That there's no more water. But you can kind of just give it a little bit of a shaky. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I did in one take, I just turned the light off for a couple days and all this stuff died, but the plants stayed just fine. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just, it doesn't look very good. Okay, yeah, so we're going to open up quite a bit of space once this comes out. One thing you could do is you can lift whatever you're taking out. What you do is you lift it, you lift it up and out a few times, and that they get the message that it's time to let go. So you lift the whole thing out, put it back, do that a few times, and they usually let go. What I'll probably do is just stick this in another aquarium temporarily. And then figure out what I'm going to do with it. And of course, when you're placing the rocks, you don't want to smash the glass, accidentally, you know, hit the bottom or however. You gotta be careful with that kind of a thing. Now this cave was actually a little bit more toward the front because I left plenty of space in the back for this fern to grow here. But you know, I don't really have the best soil, so it's taking its sweet time. Plus I also think it's a little bit of a rhizome. Oops, that was deceiving. Nice. Yeah, so there was quite a bit of space to go back. Here I buried a bag of soil. That was my attempt to have it under gravel and soil at the same time. And this kind of worked out nice, this piece of wood. So I'm just going to shift this way for the moment. And hopefully get a little more space here. See, the last time I opened this tank up, they all got a new home, so they're probably freaking out a little bit. I don't know if you've ever saw my beta. I got a beta back there. So this cave, I'm going to give up on the idea of these ferns growing as fast as I thought they were going to grow. Not these ferns here, but these ferns here. It was a beautiful broadleaf fern like this, huge leaf. And that of course wilted away because that was the above water growth. And then it made all these all these mini rhizomes. So from this one plant I got, you know, maybe 30 rhizomes, if not more, of all different sizes. But you know, they're just these juvenile little plants. So it's actually a really nice, let's see if I can get the, it's not focusing very well. So that was this big broadleaf, and it'd be nice to like grow it out of the water. It was that nice. So maybe I'll actually keep one or two of these out of the water and see if I can do an above water plant, because it was a really nice plant. So I'm just temporarily uprooting these. Let's just see how well they did. not much of a root. I just wrapped it with a little floss, a little filter mat, and a little bit of a weight, and not bad, you know, for something that doesn't have much roots. These are nice filler, kind of like a mini Java fern, I guess. I don't know if these were like a Java sword fern variety, if that's what they were kind of being marketed as. One thing I wish I didn't do is I mixed in this volcanic substrate in with the, you know, as thinking that and I'm sure it's great for other things. I just didn't like now that I have this black mixing with my riverstone, it's not really the best look. I would have preferred a different look. And I'm also contemplating going back on air, putting the under gravel back on air, and then running my 207 not on the under gravel anymore. I like it, it's good, but I rent and I have a bunch of tanks, and I'm just kind of like going, where I live, electricity is very expensive. It's not like the rest of the country. It's maybe 4 to 5 times what the rest of the country is as far as electric. So I'm looking to bring my costs down so it's not showing up on the utility bill, because they're like, are you cooking? Like, you know, they go, do you? So they just made me think maybe my electric bill is higher than it should be, because these things are running all the time, you know. It's not much, but when you start adding up a bunch of tanks, you know, next thing you know, you're doing maybe 200, 300 watts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And nobody really does that. That's living you know, has a simple life. I mean, you're turning the lights off at some point. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, so I'm contemplating bringing the cost down. But I can always add fresh stuff on top of this to cover up whatever black stone's there. But let me show you these rocks I got. So they're similar in size as far as the height, but yeah, it's very different. And now the question is, you know, what is the best way? And sometimes you just gotta place them. Wow, so they're quite bigger. You know, they're even a little bit bigger. Really does show. And I'm gonna really get them down in there to just lose some height. Make them nice and stable. Zone that's not really going to make it. So I have a really quiet voice, and my mic doesn't pick up the volume very well on the phone, and I have, you know, an external microphone that maybe I'll have to work on, but this is another one. It's not as rounded, so I'm hoping it still works. I like to give the Corys caves. They're technically nocturnal. It's a bit of a narrow cave. It's not showing up on camera, but it's only, and I can actually spread my fingers wider than that cave. I think I'll take this more here. You gotta be careful you're not crushing your fish, you know, if they're hiding underneath there. Ew, they are. Get out. That's better. Even that little bit, I think, is better. Okay, I think that's a much better cave. Yeah, because now it's at least as wide as my fingers. You can get a couple nice fish in there. But instead of having it more forward, oh, that's pretty far back there. I'm gonna move this one back more. And it just gives you a little more options in the front. Because once it's in the background and it's behind something, it's, as far as the aquascaping is concerned, it's kind of gone. The fish can still utilize it, and that's nice, and they can hide, and that gives them some space. But yeah, you know, you don't want to have completely unproductive parts of the tank as far as being able to have nice decor. Okay, so now I have two stones. I think I'm gonna have to use the larger one because the small one might be too small. This is definitely a two-hander. Wow. Now I gotta tell you, if this slipped off, it would just basically crack right through. So this is the kind of thing you're going to want to have definitely figured out before you walk away, for a few reasons. And I see what I'm going to do. This, I actually like this swoopiness, but it's just a little precarious there. It could be a matter of spinning the big one, or just finding flatter edges. Now, one thing every aquarium keeper should have is a wet dry vac, because if this popped, you'd have a half a chance at saving your house from absolute destruction if you had a wet dry vac where you could immediately start vacuuming up huge quantities of water as fast as humanly possible to, you know, save your house from being destroyed. So having a good wet dry vac, a large wet dry vac, is a decent investment. If you have anything over 29 gallons or higher, you're gonna want to buy a wet dry vac just in case. But I mean, I like this part of it so far. That moss is gonna probably die off. That's probably above growth moss. It looks really good now. This is a little stark. This kind of flatter edge here. But I feel like I should have rolled this a little bit. But it's decently stable. And this piece of wood would almost kind of be nice to protect the back of the aquarium glass. And I can kind of stick this back there somehow. As a way of defending from a fall. Let's see if it looks cheesy, but okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn on my big filter, and maybe this water will clean up a little bit. I don't want to freak the fish out too much. I try not to filter this stuff out. I try to let it settle and go into the gravel, because that's really where it belongs. Kind of, continue to be part of the ecosystem. Okay, that's sort of neat for now. These don't have to be here. These are so hard to get off. This was so nicely propped up. Yeah, I was like right there. I thought that was really well placed originally. And I may try just turning the lights off and just give it very minimal light for a couple days and see how much of the hair moss, you know, dies off. Some of these plants I was just kind of holding until I could figure out what to do with, what I would do with them. And some people say don't put big plants in front, but I think you can if you have a tall enough tank, because you can always look behind it and it sort of creates the intrigue, you know, to get people to sort of want to look all over the tank, see what they can find. I think floating plants are great for people who have just set up their tank, and if you're struggling with plants, I think you should try floating plants because they really help with controlling waste. And it's, you know, it's a good way to kind of start that cycle. Sometimes the plant itself will bring in the helpful bacteria and start, you know, kind of get your tank into that place where it's self-sustaining, won't require as much maintenance or water changes, and you can spend more time enjoying it rather than dealing with like sick fish or, you know, bad quality water. I like these stem plants, but they do take up a lot of space, so you have to kind of, and they're nice just to let float. Like some of these rooting plants, you can just let them float, and they do a really good job at making shelter. They help keep some of the light out of the aquarium, so you can have the light on, but it's not too much light. Obviously they clean the water, and so like even if you struggle with plants, you know, you can get a plant like this and just let it float. And let it do its thing that way. So there are options that can make having a planted tank a little bit easier. I kind of was just holding these plants here. I didn't know what to do with them. Here's a new business. Doesn't know up from down. have to super glue these plants. And anytime you disturb a tank, it takes a little bit before it can rebound back to the way it was, or it becomes a little bit more less disturbed, starts to look more natural again. Oh, the hair algae's got a little bit of a weird smell. It's not the water. It's actually the hair algae sitting here has a kind of hard to describe. It's almost like vegetable juice or something. Ooh. It's like vegetable juice with just a hint of egg, just a hint of that sulfur smell. I'm kind of smelling it and I was just going like, what is that smell? Ooh. It's not overwhelming, but I got a pretty sensitive nose. And I smell the water sometimes just to, I don't know if that's the best way, like if that's an actual way you can, have an idea of what your tank is up to, but I like to, if it smells sweet, I take that as a good sign. I really liked this, but now I have it all disturbed. I thought this was a cool feature here. And if you get into the tank, just be patient. Set some time aside for these kinds of things. Just enjoy it. It takes time for the tank to sort of rebound and for that vision that maybe you had to come true. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I liked this better when it was here. It's sort of closed off this side, but I feel like it kind of finished the look. put a towel on the floor and get a towel for your hands. So you got that blank spot back there. Oh, great. I just put a ton of cat hair in there. Should be okay. I guess it'll find its way into the filter. Yeah, this. So, that's the look. That's the look. The look of you. Look, look, look. I had it. The fish are pretty gentle. These, like these little fish, they're not gonna knock things around that much. They're gonna be pretty gentle. Now, some fish keepers, if you got the big fish, you just can't keep, they just tear the. Some people like the big fish, and then you got big fish problems. Big fish problems. It's a little more precarious than it needs to be. This could interlock better. Oh God. Just trying things out. Just trying. Oh, there's a big log back there. Hold on. Hold the phone. There's another big log back there I forgot about. Yeah, I forgot about this one. What are you doing? This piece is like practically floats. kind of rethinking the strategy here. This guy's cool. You know, he's kind of cool. He'd be cool to see, like, in the background. Sort of. Maybe not. I just thought maybe this guy could do better here. I wanted them to still be able to swim around that corner, because that was always fun to watch. You know, that they get to swim everywhere. So you want to leave just enough room for them to skirt around the back there. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, it's always a tough one. I do know it looks completely different in about 2 months anyway, so you can kind of pretty much do anything and it'll just sort of find its own loveliness. Guess what did? Yeah, there's some bit of a glare, but I don't know if you're there, but I took out that bigger stone, and yeah, I don't know if anyone's actually watching. Anyway, I took out that bigger stone, and I think that's better. That was a big stone. It was cool. It looked good. This, I think, is more realistic. It's kind of hitting it. The light's hitting it really nice, too. Because eventually it'll have moss over it, right? That kind of fits nice there as well. And then the last piece is just to get this back where it was, because it really kind of wasn't in a good spot. I've tried it different ways, and so you can see the bags of soil I put under the gravel. It's the aqua soil, the flue ball stuff. I don't really care for it, honestly. I wouldn't use it again. I would probably just get Home Depot Miracle Grow potting soil, honestly, and just put some sand and some gravel so it's heavy. You could put a little bit of that flue ball in there if you like it, but I mean, I don't know exactly. I guess it's like a slow release media for growing plants. It might be balanced for not having it under gravel, it's light, it's aerated, so there's some kind of flow into that substrate, but I didn't really see what was so special about it, other than those qualities. And those are good qualities, and I can see them being very useful for certain setups. Me personally, I would just probably get some Miracle-Gro and put it in the bags and add different stuff to it. Maybe not straight Miracle-Gro potting soil, although I bet you could. I didn't mind that these weren't connected, because it sort of forces them to not hide. It kind of forces them to come out if they want to go around the tank. You know what I mean? If they want to do more exploring, they sort of have to make an appearance. You want to give your fish places to hide, but you don't want to give them places that they never come out of, because you can't check them. It's kind of like antisocial behavior. It's not, it gives them, it just, I think, promotes anxiety, being able to run all the time, not having to come out. I'm shocked at how bad that algae smells. The hair algae I pulled out. The beta's like pressed up against the sponge filter. I'm like looking at him like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm chilling." Just chilling out. So this is nice. I think that was a good upgrade. I think it matches. I think I'm happier with this rock. I don't mind that plain Jane face as much as I thought maybe I would. It's not, the light's hitting it kind of nicely. It's not picking up on camera as much. It is stark, but I think a little plant maybe off to the side will help that. So I left a lot of these floating plants in here because they're good for the beta. He can chill. I didn't really have anywhere else to put him, but I might thin some of these out. Some of these floaters. The young baby, I have some babies in here. They seem to dig it. These Javas are great. They just keep making more and more. Kind of just stuff them in there. The fish are having a little bit of a freak out. I might just stick this one into here. These are kind of like the baby Javas, and they did really well. One of the problems I have is it gets too hot where I live. I'm in a tropical kind of environment, and the aquarium water actually gets so hot that certain plants don't make it. So that's another thing too, is for some people there is such a thing as too hot, and they even have like fans that you put on the aquarium to evaporate the water and cool it down. So this one started leaving the tank. It's really, really pretty stem plant, but as it started to get out of the water, it killed its bottom leaves. because I think it was getting ready to transition into a different kind of plant. And it uses this energy from these leaves to make that, to help grow a stronger stem and to start leaving the water. Plus I couldn't close my lid, so I snipped it and I didn't take it out. And I'm imagining it would root, you know, or what I think what you would do is before it gets to this point, you snip it and then it comes out the sides. Right here where my thumb is, it's already making a shoot. So I'll just stick it in the dirt, stick it in the gravel, and kind of like layering it. Sometimes they call it layering, where you just lay it down and see what happens. If it'll make roots, you can kind of stick it behind something and see what happens. The lilies, when you first get the lilies, they go crazy because the bulb has all that energy and it's getting all that nutrition from the bulb itself, not from really from the water that much. And so you're tempted to cut, I mean, you have to sort of cut them back, but one thing you can't do is cut too much, because then the plant actually suffers. And which could be a good thing. It'll slow it down because it's so fast, it's almost out of control. But you know, then you get frustrated, so you really cut it back, and then next thing you know, you stunt it, and it almost has a hard time at that point to recover. Now, there are a lot of people who love the fast growth. You see a lot of them talking about how fast their growth is, but honestly, what you really want is it to look healthy and to grow slow, because you don't want to be in here messing with the tank too much. It'll overgrow the tank, and that creates its own problems, you know. So it's actually really nice when you have a slow growing, healthy looking plant. And so sometimes you don't want to add all that crazy soil that they talk about all the time, you know, supercharged soil. Sort of creates a maintenance situation. This is a root from a plant that grows out of the tank. I just pulled it out of the garden one day and stuffed it. I had it sitting in there, wedged it in there between the glass and everything. And it kind of looks cool. They say these rooted plants like this really help clean the water. So you can even take like a Home Depot plant that you can grow in water. Just stuff it in there like that. But the water smells really sweet. It almost reminds me of a lake. I don't know if you've ever been to a freshwater lake. The smell that a freshwater lake has is so nice. It almost kind of has that smell. Kind of like a mini what do they call it? Elephant ear. So between this and floating plants, you don't necessarily have to have this amazing soil to get plants in your tank. I'm just going to leave them out for now. Put them back when I'm done. Kind of dealing with this mess here. So I have no heater in my tank at all. None of my tanks have heaters. And I'm over 80 degrees. It's like 81. You can't see. It's over the green, just barely over the green mark there. I'd say that's about 81, 82. These are kind of fun, but they haven't worked out quite the way I was hoping they would work out. I'm gonna just move them up. Kind of nice, put them on a tilt. This is just a tangled mess of lily. That's okay. Yeah, that kind of opened it up a little bit. This will fill in some plants hopefully soon. But I'm okay with this. I'll probably pull a few of the lily leaves out, just nip them down a little bit. Yeah, it's nice to freshen things up. This is a pretty cool fern. I'm not sure what it is. It's like a little, it's got a smaller leaf. Not this one, but that one back there. I think that's way better. And I'll just let this kind of chill for a little bit, a couple days, and then just add. I'll take these plants here that I took out, stick them in another tank, with no light and kill off that moss. And then I'll be able to fill in, you know, let this kind of do its thing for a little bit, and then fill in from there. Wasn't too disturbing. I think that's, yeah, there's a little bit of a blank spot in there, which is okay. I don't really have the perfect plant. This has turned out really nice. That's done really well. What I did is I left a bunch of space back here because I was really hoping this fern would come through. And it just hasn't, so there really isn't a reason for me to have quite this much empty space back here. This is the fern that's been sitting back there. Kind of rethinking the whole fern ski. But it does give really good space for the fish to hide, and that is important, so maybe I shouldn't mess with it too much, but yeah, probably too late. Too late. Already messed with it. Man. Yeah, and I got a really cool filter idea that I'm gonna do a video on in a couple days. I got finals coming up. I'm taking a couple college classes, so that's kind of taking priority, hobby. But sometimes I get these bugs to do something, and I can't focus until I have a chance to do it. So next thing you know, I'm messing around. But yeah, and I'm kind of excited about that one because I didn't see any videos on it. I think it's a really cool idea. And it's got multiple, like, people can customize it and do their own thing. And it's got different ways a person can, you know, fine tune it for what they got going on. Alright, I think that's about enough messing with that. So this is what you call, like, the state. So the tank is kind of in a state of shock, right? Where and what will happen is everything will kind of sort of grow into some sort of equilibrium with the current and the light and the other plants, and they'll eventually find their way to a happy spot. And then that just happens to look good, you know what I mean? Or maybe it's not just happens to look good, but that looks good. After a month or so, when everything comes back into place. But yeah, that needed to happen. I think that looks way better, even with the yellowish pebble stone. It's not so yellow on the camera. My favorite are these larger, kind of more toward like the golden yellowish river rock. I love that on the top. With the moonlight with the Hager light, it has like there's a yellowish option, which is kind of like an incandescent sort of looking color, more on the yellow spectrum. But that night light, the moonlight, is so nice when you see it in person. It doesn't pick up on the camera. And that the only reason why I even buy this light is because of that one option to be able to turn that moonlight on. That yellowish color at night makes the tank look amazing. It's very quintessential kind of aquarium appearance. But yeah, so I'm gonna put the lid back on, stick some of the it feels more open. I think pushing this back and kind of remove, you know, I had that big moss ball on there, which was nice. I don't even know what I did with it. What did I do with it? It's probably wrapped up. That was actually really, really nice, and it'd be nice to get it back on there. And that's probably what I'll do. I'll get a little stone and I'll weigh some moss down on that, and maybe it'll eventually grab onto it. Sometimes it grabs and sometimes it doesn't. That feels better. That feels more complete to me. That was a temporary thing, and now this feels more like intentional. I don't know if you've seen it, but on the internet they make those little baskets and clips and all different kinds of things for holding in place your free plants. I just stuffed these in because I kind of just wanted to see what it was like. But I'll make it more legit at some point. I still can't believe that hair moss smells like that. It's like, whoa. One of the next paychecks I get, when I get a little bit more, once school's over, start making some money again. Mid-May, I'm gonna get the sample, the tester from Aquarium Co-op, and just to be able to monitor. I'll be able to show you guys, you know, without water changing, just to show you what the chemistry is actually like. Because I'll bet you, you know, it's one thing to say the tank's healthy, fish are happy. It's another thing to do the tests and have good quality water. But yeah, so thank you for watching. I hope that turned out. I have no idea because I've just been here in front of the camera talking, and I don't know what it's like for you guys. It's my first live of this type. That was kind of cool. I'm gonna run the big filter for a little bit. That's my I got this Magnum over here, and I don't turn that on all the time. In fact, I don't know if you were already here, but I'm gonna probably go back to air on the lift tubes because I'm doing air anyway. I have a lift tube there stubbed down. I can always add it. Then I'm probably just gonna put the 207 as the constant filter, and I'm going to reduce the lighting, and that should save a little electricity. And you know, I'm kind of realizing that the plants don't need a tremendous amount of light. I'm not going for mondo growth, and that might help with some of the algae that's been growing. But yeah, so I don't know if you saw the other videos, but what do you think? Yeah, that filter's heavy duty. It's 350 gallons an hour, and it's a 35-watt motor. So it's an old. They don't even make it anymore. That's the 350 Magnum. And what I did is I kind of customized it. It comes with a water polishing, it looks like a HEPA filter. But I took this one and packed it with filter floss. And you can make that, they sell really fine filter floss. Down to the micron, 10 micron. So you can get this down to 10 micron with 350 gallons a minute or an hour on that big filter, and that cleans it up real nice. Yeah, pretty good, huh? Well, I'm just gonna let the camera run, and I'm gonna go do some homework. So thanks for the guys that are here watching. Thank you. Yep, and we'll see what it looks like in a couple weeks. And I got a cool filter video coming out soon too. I'll probably do that live as well, even though it's like look at that, it's an hour and a half, almost 2 hours later, so it's a long video, but I guess I can always edit it and you can watch the shorter version later, but it's kind of fun. Thanks, Sergio. You the man. Right on. Rock on, guys. Thank you. I was gonna clean up.